According to a new rumor, Assassin's Creed Mirage is getting DLC after all. First they said we are not gonna do story DLC, but we do have ideas for the future of Basim. Obviously we know he ends up in Valhalla, but there's some time in between that would be interesting to see in DLC. And now we have a new rumor regarding this. So we go to Video Game Chronicle. They report the last Assassin's Creed game is reportedly getting a Saudi-funded DLC this year. So Zavi Games, an investment group founded by Saudi Arabia's Public Investment Fund, is understood to be funding a Mirage DLC. Ubisoft initially had no plans to expand the game, instead shifting focus to Shadows, but that now reportedly has changed. So this according to a French newspaper, Les Echos, and I hope I pronounced that right. I already translated it to English. According to several concordant sources, the French video game heavyweight has formed a partnership with Zavi Games Group, owned by Saudi Arabia, to like kind of fund this DLC. Here, I cannot read it because it's like protected. I don't have a subscription on this French newspaper, if you don't mind. But yeah, this should lead to the production of the Ubisoft Studios of downloadable content, also called DLC, additional maps or levels, additional characters that can be paid for or offered to gamers. Basically, they're of course talking to a mainstream audience, but Ubisoft basically went to Saudi Arabia, Eve was there, and yeah, they struck some side, like, Mirage did very well for them. It sold 5 million units in 3 months, I think. So a DLC could maybe sell 1 million, I think, if it's of course done right. So I'm not surprised by this, and I also think a French newspaper, again, they are explaining what a DLC is. They're talking here about additional maps or levels. They, I don't think, can come up with the fact that Mirage is getting a DLC of all things. So I do believe that they heard this, and they're French, Ubisoft is French. I do believe their sources, so I believe this. Ubisoft, by the way, responded to this, saying, "We declined to comment. We are focused on finishing Assassin's Creed Shadows and excited for players to get to play it on March 20th. Okay, they declined to comment. Why do you not say no? Like before this, you guys said there's no DLC for Mirage. We can actually look that up. Before this, they said this: Assassin's Creed Mirage won't be getting story DLC, but again, the devs shared ideas on how they could extend the story of Basim. This was their most recent public statement, and now they say we don't comment. I mean, that tells me that it's happening, right? That tells me that there is indeed a plan to do this. And yeah, it is kind of weird to go back to an older Assassin's Creed and give DLC. Now, it's not the first time that we've seen this. Of course, Odyssey got a DLC 3 months after launch, but that was a crossover story. So that was a way to promote to... Like, there were many things why that made more sense. For one, they wanted to promote Valhalla to people that were still playing Odyssey by giving this crossover thing. Like, in Valhalla, you saw Cassandra, and in Odyssey, you had like a whole new island to explore. And then also kind of new, oh hey, continue the story, play Valhalla now. So yeah, that was a way to push people to Valhalla that they were of course still supporting. And that was the best month for Valhalla post-launch. A lot of people joined because it was really big free content. And so for Mirage, it's of course different. Also because that was always a smaller game. It was a Valhalla DLC. They turned into a real game. So it's already kind of weird to say, yo, the DLC is getting DLC. But then we get to this. And this is the Animus Hub. Maybe you saw my big video on it. I will leave a link to it in the video description. It's the new launcher basically for Assassin's Creed moving forward. And yeah, it starts with Shadows. So when you boot up Shadows, you see this. And then you're like, okay, this is pretty awesome. But again, you already see the other games. So they're in chronological order of their setting. So after this, we go to Cassandra. Boom. So yeah, it moves up again, see? And with the access button here, you can like access it. If you own the game, you can boot it up from this menu. If you don't own the game, you can buy it. If you have the game on a physical disc, you have to insert the disc first. And it's not a separate launcher, it's part of Shadows. So you boot up Shadows, then that is the only time you see this. And all the future Assassin's Creed games will have this too. But yeah, after Bayek, we see Mirage. So if they were to do a Mirage DLC, they could like have a sort of exclamation mark here or something like that, so that every time you boot up Shadows, you're like, wait, what's that? And then you scroll down to Mirage, and then it's like, bam, new adventure available for Basim. Travel to Constantinople and meet a very familiar Viking figure. Ooh, Sigurd, ooh. They could do that. And it would make more sense now, because with the Odyssey DLC, it was like, okay, what, like, you had to watch my channel, like our videos, or like watch a trailer for something else, to learn about the Odyssey DLC coming to the game, right? While right now, with the Animus Hub, and that's kind of the main reason why they're doing this, they can immediately talk to everyone playing the game who is not super connected on YouTube or social media. They can immediately target everyone playing Assassin's Creed, saying that, yo, there's of course a cool DLC now available. So yeah, I think it's pretty cool. I think it's totally possible. And yeah, I teased it already. I mean, that should be probably it, right? If we go to the wiki here, we see in 870, Basim met and befriended the Viking Sigurd, who was Tyr reborn form. Seeing a way to accomplish his plan of revenge, Basim accompanied the Viking to Norway, while also tracking the Order of Ancients in that region. But we never have this moment, like we have references to it. I always hoped that there was this sort of epilogue in Mirage after we finished the game, where we actually saw this happening, but the developers already before launch said, we don't have that meeting. We don't have it. But we know, if we go over here, Basim and Hytem eventually met Sigurd in Constantinople and befriended him, acting as his guides and teaching him many of the organization's customs. When Sigurd decided to return home to Norway, Basim agreed to accompany him and requested permission from mentor Rayon to leave. Of course, we met this mentor in Mirage, claiming that this was an opportunity to fight the Order of the Ancients. But of course, he had different plans. He wanted to, get revenge. You have to play Valhalla, of course, to figure out what all happened. You probably know what all happened. But again, there are possibilities. I think that would be the coolest thing they can do for DLC. Having like it like be shorter after launch, or like after the ending. I don't think that's too exciting. And I do think it would be cool if we are seeing Basim as Loki as well, right? As that we kind of see how in Mirage you kind of already see it happen, how he kind of transforms by the end of the game. That's of course like it happened, but we're missing this sort of, in Valhalla he was already this completely different person, and it feels like there might still be some evolution left that I think would be cool to experience in the DLC. So I hope, and seeing Sigurd again would of course be awesome, and also the real Sigurd. Of course, Sigurd kind of changed a lot in Valhalla. I think it would be cool to see him in this sort of regard as well. And yeah, Mirage did well. It is a more traditional Assassin's Creed game, and it will be a while before we see that again. We now get Shadows, the RPG. 2 years after that, or a year and a half, at the end of 2026, we're getting Hexe. That is already a completely different game as well. That won't be an RPG. Will not be a more traditional stealth-focused game. So when are we going to get another Unity-type experience, another Mirage-type experience? Will probably be a while. So if they can do a DLC for Mirage instead, I think a lot of people did not play Mirage after some of the recent updates they did to improve the parkour and stuff. That will maybe push people back. I think it would be awesome. I hope that they then also not release it on PS4 and Xbox One, so you also feel this sort of graphical jump if they make it like next gen exclusive, current gen. But yeah, it was still on PS4, Xbox One. So if they like make it like that, I do think that would kind of feel more like a 1.5 experience. That's kind of what I'm hoping. I don't want like another small. If they are gonna do this, they have to do it well. And adding like a new map, I think could already be awesome. But we will have to wait and see. And of course, like that's also where I want to kind of end this. Like, Ubisoft, I don't think is going to Saudi only to talk about a DLC for an old game. They are, of course, right now, we just have this news. They confirmed another 185 layoffs as it closed the former DJ Hero studio and downsized others. So, they're making cuts left and right. They already made a lot of cuts. They, of course, closed the studio behind X Defiant. They closed the Osaka studio. So, they are closing a lot of teams, laying people off. They say, as part of our ongoing efforts to prioritize projects and reduce costs that ensure long-term stability at Ubisoft, we've announced a targeted restructuring at Ubisoft Düsseldorf. They did Assassin's Creed Nexus VR, Ubisoft Stockholm, and Ubisoft Reflections, and the permanent closure of Ubisoft Leamington. That is kind of the sad reality of the situation. Ubisoft just has way too many studios that are working on things that are like, who are they for? Assassin's Creed Nexus, it was a nice attempt. But what is Ubisoft Düsseldorf doing right now? They are probably like these teams are probably all supporting other teams. But yeah, Ubisoft right now, it feels, has too many employees for the things that they want to do now. They have to focus on just a few things and get them well and do them well. They don't need all these other people trying. I don't know what they're doing, but yeah, I don't think we as gamers will really feel, sadly, the closure of these studios and the layoffs. But yeah, I do think they might be going to Saudi and be like, yo, we are selling some franchises. Do you want Watch Dogs? Do you want Division? Do you want Splinter Cell? We are selling. Like, we just want to be the Rainbow Six, Assassin's Creed, Power, like, Factory, and maybe have Ghost Recon and Far Cry, and what else? Yeah, maybe Division. I don't know. Maybe, like, they want to just focus, I think, on a few franchises and make sure they hit, and then look, okay, maybe we can have one new IP that we can kind of work on while focusing on making sure all the other franchises are doing well. Because now they're spread too thin. They have too much going on. But yeah, going back to Mirage, I would love a good reason to return to that game. I think it's awesome. I hope this DLC also adds like a new weapon for Basim. I don't want to just be playing with the sword and dagger. There are many ways they can improve it. And again, with the Animus Hub, there are possibilities. So let me know what you hope to see, of course, and subscribe for more.